Has America, the world's oldest democracy, just abandoned Ukraine to the wolves? In a stunning move, the United States has halted all military aid to Ukraine, leaving the nation vulnerable as Russian forces press forward. This decision has left the world in shock and raised a question that cuts to the core of US foreign policy. Is this a victory for Russia? Are we witnessing the dawn of a new era, one dominated by authoritarian regimes? And most disturbingly, has the US given up on defending democracy? In this video, we dive into why this decision is so dangerous, what it means for the future of global democracy, and whether the US is turning its back on the very values it was built on. To understand what's happening now, we need to go back, way back. In 1991, as the Soviet Union collapsed, Ukraine declared independence. For many Ukrainians, this wasn't just about sovereignty, it was about escaping centuries of Russian domination. But for Putin, it was personal. He sees Ukraine not as an independent nation, but as a lost Russian province. Ukraine's turn to the West wasn't an accident. The Orange Revolution in 2004 and the Euromaidan uprising in 2014 proved one thing. Ukrainians were willing to risk everything for democracy and a European future. But a democratic Ukraine is Putin's worst nightmare. If Ukraine can succeed as a democracy, why not Belarus? Or even Russia itself? So why did the US throw its weight behind Ukraine in the first place? Defending democracy or just business? Officially, the US backed Ukraine to defend democracy and international law, but let's be real, it was also about power and resources. Ukraine is a major energy corridor for Europe. Controlling Ukraine means controlling the flow of natural gas and limiting Russian leverage over Europe. Containment, not compassion. The real goal was to contain Russian influence in Eastern Europe. Letting Russia take Ukraine would mean waving a green flag for more invasions, Moldova, the Baltics, maybe even Poland for NATO. Supporting Ukraine was also about proving NATO's credibility. If the US couldn't defend Ukraine, how could it reassure its allies in the Baltics or the Pacific? But now, everything has changed. The US has paused all military aid to Ukraine. Why the official reason? The White House claims this pause is meant to push Ukraine into peace talks with Russia. But is that really the truth, or just an excuse to retreat? A hidden agenda? Some analysts argue that this is about resource reallocation, redirecting money to counter China or address crises at home. But if that's true, what does that say about America's values? The cost of inaction? Suspending aid could save money now, but it risks losing Eastern Europe to Russian influence. And if Putin wins in Ukraine, who's next? Let's get real. If the US walks away now, isn't that a victory for Russia, the rise of authoritarianism? If Russia succeeds in Ukraine, it sends a clear message. Authoritarianism works. Beijing, Tehran, Pyongyang, they're all watching closely and they're taking notes. A broken American promise. For decades, the US has been the self-proclaimed leader of the free world, but suspending aid to Ukraine may go down in history as the moment that promise was broken. The power of precedent. If the US won't defend a democratic ally under attack, why should anyone trust America again? From Taiwan to the Baltics, America's allies are now questioning their own security. So is this really about peace talks, or has the US just surrendered Eastern Europe to Putin? So what does the future of democracy look like now? A world of strongmen. If Ukraine falls, the world could enter a new era, one dominated by strongmen and spheres of influence, not laws and values. The question is this the world we want? The end of American leadership? If the US has truly abandoned Ukraine, what does that say about its commitment to democracy anywhere? Can the world's oldest democracy still claim to lead the free world? Or is that just history now? A dangerous precedent. If Russia succeeds, who's next? The Baltics, Poland, Taiwan? And if America won't step in, who will? Here's the uncomfortable truth. If America no longer believes in defending democracy abroad, then what does it stand for? The cost of isolation. Retreating from Ukraine might save money and troops in the short term, but the long-term cost could be a world where power, not principle, decides everything. The collapse of US values. Abandoning Ukraine signals that American values like freedom, justice, and self-determination are for sale, or worse, obsolete. So the
real question is, has America given up on democracy itself? This isn't just about Ukraine or even Russia, it's about the future of the entire world order. If the US walks away now, it might save some resources, but it will pay in something far more valuable: credibility, leadership, and the hope of a democratic future. So, what do you think? Is this the end of American leadership? Or is there still time to save the future of democracy? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into global politics.